We can start. Thank you very much. Good morning again. We will start our proceedings with prayers, offer of prayers from our religious leaders. Imam Jallo, you have the floor, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين الحمد لله هادنا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هادينا الله الأول والآخر والزاخر والباطن يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي وجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين وإمام المرسلين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين.
Thank you very much, Imam Jallo. Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Lord God of grace, of mercy, of truth, of love, of compassion, of forgiveness, of healing, of reconciliation, and of justice. We, your creation in this nation, the Gambia, are calling upon you that you look kindly upon us, forgive our wrongs and the misdoings that we have done over the past. We ask that by your Holy Spirit's power, that you will bring about healing, you will bring about reconciliation, you will bring about forgiveness, and you will also bring about justice. We ask that those who will testify here will have the courage to speak out the truth of what they knew happened here in the past, and not to try to bury them. And so as we hear the truth of the things that have affected the lives of most families and the community in particular, then the healing will begin, forgiveness will begin, justice will also take place. For this we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Bishop. Council, can we bring in the witness? Are we ready to get to take him?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning to members of the audience. We are ready to proceed. The witness is waiting in the waiting room. May I ask the usher to bring him in, please?
On the left or right? On the right. Yes. On the left upper.
Yes.
Okay.
I, Babkar Jatta,
I, Babkar Jatta,
do swear that
I will speak the truth,
I'll speak the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Is it?
You may be seated, please. Mr. Jatta, welcome to the TRRC.
Thank you.
I hope that you are in the mindset that would enable you to proceed with these proceedings.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your cooperation with the TRRC.
Oh, yeah.
As you are aware, this is a fact-finding mission. It's not a witch hunting exercise. It's also not criminal prosecutions.
Okay.
It's just intended to establish the truth about what happened in the past 22-year Jammeh rule. I am sure you are quite familiar with the legal framework and that you are aware that that is the objective.
Roger.
When you answer, please speak into the microphone. You may even draw it close to you and kindly speak up a bit so that people in the audience can hear you.
Roger.
Thank you. As we have met previously,
For sure.
my name is Esa Fall. My responsibility is to lead you in your evidence before the Commission.
Yeah.
Previously, we have informed you some of the basic legal issues, that it is imperative that when people appear before the Commission, they speak the truth. It is a criminal offense under the laws of the Gambia to lie under oath. It is also a criminal offense to give false testimony before the Commission. Could you kindly confirm that you've been informed of this fact previously, as I do now as
Yes,
well?
please. Yes, please.
You have just taken an oath, undertaking to speak the truth. I just want to emphasize the importance of keeping it that way.
Roger.
We have discussed elements of your testimony in the past through witness interviews. We have again discussed briefly before you come in. It is important that you answer the questions asked and you limit yourself to the questions asked. If you need to explain further, let me know and we'll give you the opportunity to explain further. But it is important that you stick to the questions asked. Understood?
Thank you.
All right. In your testimony today, I want to focus on a few issues. First is your biographical information, because there are many Babukar Jatas who were in the army. It is important that we know exactly who we're dealing with. The second issue would be the evolution of the Gambia Armed Forces. That is the creation of the Gambia National Army, its development, and what were the problems up to the time of the July 22nd coup d'etat. We would also wish to discuss the events surrounding the July 22nd coup d'etat. We have received a lot of evidence on this, but it is important to also hear from the person who later became the commander of the Gambia National Army on those particular issues. But significantly, we would want to discuss the events of November 11, 1994. We may also discuss the arrest, detention, and torture of Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara. We would also discuss the arrest and detention of PPP supporters or demonstrators at the U.S. Embassy. We would also discuss the attack against UDP supporters at the Denton Bridge. Those are the topics I propose to discuss today with you in your testimony. But of course, we all know that you have a whole lot more to say.
Okay.
You would have to, at some stage, testify about the issue of the junglers. You would have to testify about the killing of, or the unlawful killing, if I may qualify that, of the student demonstrators, 10-11 April 2000. That's a very important one. And a host of other issues which we would discuss with you at some other stage. But at least for now, you would focus your testimony on the 7 topics I enumerated. Are you ready to deal with those?
Yeah.
Kindly tell us your full names, please.
My name is Babukar Jata. I was born in Tujaren on 26th December 1960 I attended Tujaran Primary School from 1968 to 1976. On your paper, there's a point of rectification. I went to Latrikunda Secondary Technical School from 1976 to 1979. That portion is not in your record. Please adjust that one when you get. And I had to end up in Kunju Secondary Technical School, 1979-1980. Then I went to St. Augustine High School from 1980 to 1983 and obtained a GCE O-level certificate, respectively. Upon there, I got enlisted in the Army on
Which
1st
year?
August,
Which
1st
year?
August 1983.
What intake would that be?
We are the one they call zero intake or Frimpong badge.
Could you say again?
They call us zero intake or Frimpong badge.
Frimpong.
Our chief instructor was a Ghanaian called George Frimpong.
So this
So-
is the first enlistment of soldiers into the Gambian
unofficial,
National Army.
as they used to call us.
Mr. Jata, we cannot speak over one another.
Okay, okay,
When you're talking, I have to listen to you.
okay.
And then when you finish, you allow me to
talk.
speak. And then we have to do it that way. Perhaps, let's say, observe this rule. After you finish speaking, I'll give you 3 seconds.
Okay,
Before I start. And you also observe that protocol.
Okay.
That way our speeches would not overlap, and the interpreters would also be able to interpret exactly what we say.
Roger.
Understood? Understood? Thank you very much. So you were saying you were called the zero intake or the Frimpong badge, simply because it's taken the name from the first instructor of the first set of recruits into the Gambia National Army.
Yes, please.
That's correct. All right. So your intake was the first. All right. So proceed. Where did you do your training?
I'm coming to that one. Courses attended.
Mr. Jata, answer the question.
Oh, okay. My basic training was done in Farafenye
When
from
did,
1st of August,
when did you complete the training?
December 1983.
Where were you posted after completion of your training?
We all came to Fajara Barracks, a badge of 100.
And what rank did you attain upon completion of training?
I was a private soldier, but by February, in the month of February, we were promoted to officer cadet.
To officer cadet.
Cadet, yes, please.
You and who? You said we. Who are the other officer cadets?
Lai Conte, the former mayor, and late Fabakary Cisse, and myself.
Just the 3 of you.
Chongan was also added to us.
But Chongan became gendarmerie,
Yes.
and the 3 of you became
Army.
soldiers in the army. So the 3 of you were the first set of officers the Gambia National Army produced.
Yes, please.
That's right. And so tell us your career progression after that.
Okay. After being an officer cadet, I was the first Gambian officer to America on this IMX training. We call it International Military Exchange Training. I was promoted to second lieutenants because the Americans used to train second lieutenants only. Officer cadet in America, you have to be in West Point for 2 years program. We don't attend that one. We have to be with them in Fort Benning as second lieutenant. So I left for America in April 1985. I went to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas, where I studied Defense Language Institute. But now I cannot give you the dates and the time, but I'll go run through.
It is all right. It is
Okay.
all right.
All right.
In fact, perhaps we should just rush through that.
Okay.
And when did you return to Gambia after your training in,
I
Texas?
still had some other courses.
Yes, your biography is very big.
Okay.
You have registered significant achievements in your career. We need not go into all of them.
Oh, all right.
We just need the basic information such that we can have a very good identification of the person who's testifying, at least on the record. But we need not go into all the details of the successes you have registered in your career.
Okay.
When did you return to Gambia upon completion of your training in Fort Benning in the U.S.?
The first time I returned in 1986,
And
April 86.
And when you returned, did you receive any enhancement in your position within the Army?
My position as a second lieutenant was confirmed.
And tell us more about your career progression. What happened to your career after that?
When I landed in Banjul, I was posted, we were all at Yundum, for sure. At Yundum Barracks, and I was posted to the Bravo Company.
In which battalion?
1 infantry battalion. But at that
And
point,
what was your position in Bravo Company?
I was a platoon commander. I command 32 men.
That's right. And for how long did you serve in that capacity?
Up till 86, up till 88, April 88.
And then what happened?
I took over the company from my former boss, Major Mabajob.
As company commander?
Yes, as company commander. Why he proceeds to America for advanced infantry.
How long were you in this position?
I was a company commander from 1988 to 1993.
During this period, did the leadership in the Army change?
By 1993, it did not. Yes, it did change.
Can you tell us about that change?
In the first place, we lost our battalion commander, who was former late Major Gay. And then we lost our commander, Colonel Daunjai. He was replaced temporarily by Major Mabajob prior to the arrival of the Nigerians.
Can you tell, just briefly, why you had these changes in the Army, these changes in the leadership? Just briefly.
Well, for Major Gay, he was implicated by, I think, the field commander. He was reported by the field commander to the authorities.
And for Mr. Njai?
Commander Njai was as a result of some demonstrations by some students.
And by some students?
Sorry, by some soldiers, sorry.
What kind of demonstration was that?
These are soldiers coming from ECOMOG, the first batch.
Which mission?
Pardon me?
Which mission?
ECOMOG in Liberia, Operation Liberty. 1990-91.
Can you explain what this demonstration was about?
They were demonstrating in quest for their allowances, unpaid paid allowances.
And as a result of that, the government decided to change the leadership in the Army.
They decided to change the leadership.
So Ndaunjai was removed and replaced by Mabajob, you said,
Mabajob.
in an acting capacity.
What
rank was Mabajob at the time?
A major.
What was your rank at the time?
A captain. Well, although I have a field rank.
Let's talk about the official rank.
Okay, official is captain.
Field ranks, you could have been general.
I was a
Let's
major in
talk about
Liberia,
the official
yes.
ranks.
Okay.
You were captain at the time.
Yes, please.
That's right. And then what happened to Mabajob?
It happened that when the Nigerians came, I was in America then. They didn't come in my presence here. I since to realize that there was a push and pull between Maba and the then commander, Colonel Dada. Then he was a colonel.
Do you know why the Nigerians had to come and assume command of the Gambia National Army?
Well, when we came here, we know there was an MOU signed by the two governments.
Yes, that is what formalized the relationship. The question that I'm asking is, what led to that arrangement? What were the problems that led to that arrangement?
You know, at the policy level, although we don't have a say, maybe they felt that the army needs some form of assistance.
Mr. Jata, let's not dwell into probabilities and possibilities.
Okay.
You knew what happened. Tell us what happened. What were the problems which led to the government's decision to bring in the Nigerians?
We were not consulted as regards to this problem, but we were told that Nigerians are coming to take over the army. There was no line of communication with the ministry, or there was no form of briefing. If there were one, then I was not present there.
You may not have been briefed.
Yes.
But were you aware about the problems that existed in the army at that time, which you believe led to that decision?
I do believe there were problems in the army.
Kindly tell us.
One, that's a wide range of problems. You know, as a pioneer unit, there must be problems. You know, the problem ranges from administrative to operations. On the administrative aspect, we were talking about promotions. We were talking about who commands who. We do accept at a particular time we have some commanders, some officers from the former gendarme. That's Commander Major Gay, Maba Job. Chongan came, but he went back. They came and they were absorbed by the commander when he was coming to take over the army in full. To us, initially we did not understand why that happened, but latter part we got to understand that we, being the force, by the three of us, were instructors who were oriented by the British Army training team when they came in. So at that same time, there were these schedules for overseas training. So the commander took it upon himself as his prerogative to bring these officers in to attend those fields, and they will be part of the army while we have been prepared too. So we don't want to lose those vacancies in Sandhurst, especially Sandhurst. Yes, that's why late Major Gay went to Sandhurst, Maba went to Sandhurst, Omar Fai went to Sandhurst, Wilson went to Sandhurst.
Mr. Jasa, the question is about what were the problems in the army at that time.
Yes, so initially we thought we've been suppressed, but no, we were not being suppressed. Then come the feeding. There were so many complaints about feeding. I used to hear from other testimonies talking about Watawatachu. We say Watawatachu, small oil, plenty water.
Could you say that again?
Watawatachu, small oil, plenty water.
Small and plenty water.
Small oil.
Small oil.
Plenty water.
Okay, that's what I was.
That's how we call Watawatachu.
Yeah.
That was the name in the barracks. But we inherited that problem from the field force. We had an old man who used to cook in the field force. We call him Pa Cook. That's the way they cook. And those cooks were from the field force. I know some of them like Musa Samura and so on. But then, not that proper arrangement was not made for it, a proper diet. The arrangement was these cooks have to get up first day, Rivali, prepare bread, apply bread and butter, tea. So when we blow the bugle by 6:30 to 8 o'clock, we should take our breakfast. Then from the breakfast there, ration clerk and the cook has to leave by 8 o'clock to Brikama, to market. So when they come, no matter what, by 1 o'clock that food should be ready. Here, in the normal circumstances, we finish cooking when we have Ngende and others maybe by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, not so. But these soldiers, they have to be ready by 1 o'clock. Good or bad, he has to serve that food. So why won't we do what you? All those are problems. But it will never move. We can never move, or else you're going to break our schedules. That's how I understand, and that's the answer. But then on the other hand again, fish has been supplied separately and meat. Only condiments. Pinching, preparation. Cooks will take their shares. Ration clerk will take their shares. Officers will ask for cash crew. So many things, so many hands were involved in that thing. So at the end of the day...
You're suggesting that the poor diet was partly due to the corruption of the officers,
yes, and
who
men,
are involved
and the men
in
too.
provide... Don't speak over me.
Okay.
We have to observe that discipline, otherwise it would be a bit difficult.
Okay.
So you're suggesting that corruption somehow contributed to what eventually became a standard poor diet being served to the soldiers?
At the lower level.
At the?
Lower level.
How about at the senior level?
At the senior level, the commander was too busy. He was not supervised. They were not being supervised well. Oh, okay. Closer. Up. See, once this fish money has been issued on a daily basis, okay. Who knows? How much do we pinch? Yes, 20 kilos, let's say beef or meat for the day. Fish, you have to remove the gills. You have to remove the intestines. And if you fry it, it drops in terms of weight. This we have to recognize. So this is what problem we traced at our time, during our time. And we've also discovered that those sole NCOs going to the market were buying condiments at one place. So, if you have the ship of garden eggs, which may cost $10 each, they will buy the one that costs $25 each.
Or would claim to buy the one.
Yeah, yes. So when we trace things.
So we have to move beyond this point. Your suggestion, therefore, is that corruption among those officers who are involved in providing the food was also a problem.
A problem.
So the problem was not just limited to what government provided. Whatever little that government provided was not in fact all used for feeding the soldiers. A bit of it was stolen pretty much by the officers who were involved in ensuring the feeding of the soldiers. That's your testimony.
Not the officers, the NCOs themselves. Officers will come, we take some meat from the cookhouse. We beg.
Corruption?
Yes, corruption.
Yes.
But at the end of the month, every officer, the only person who was not taking rice was the commander himself. Every soldier is issued a bag of rice, 10 liters of oil, 10 kilograms of sugar. Okay, added to your salary. You take that home. So the welfare aspect was a little bit good.
So your suggestion is that the welfare was not too bad?
It was not too bad.
You have to speak up, Mr. Jara.
Okay, it was not too bad.
Like a soldier?
Okay.
Good.
All right. It was not too bad.
Wonderful.
But then at that moment in time, we really don't know what's privilege and rights. It affected us.
Tell us about it.
These are some of the factors that the government can take away from you at any moment, because it happened. In those days, this bag of rice, oil, and 10 kg of sugar goes to the tune of what? Is it $480 also? But towards the end, it was slammed into the salary. So now, when the price of rice or oil started going up, it did not affect that privilege.
So the system was changed from the provision of items like food, oil, and sugar to providing the cost of purchasing those items, not taking into account that inflation could catch up with them. So their purchasing power reduced.
Reduces.
So they no longer could afford the items that they were being given previously. That's what you're trying to tell us.
This is it. So when the soldier also saw that now a bag of rice may cost maybe 500 and so on, they were expecting 500 and something to be in their salaries as well.
A commensurate increase in the salary.
Which
Did
not
that
work.
happen?
That also happened, yes. it
No,
happened.
was there any commensurate increase in the salary?
No.
What effect did that have on the soldiers?
That is to say that that amount will remain as it used to. So as years go by, the cost of, how do you call it, bag of rice as it goes up, will not affect them. But it's like an extra emolument for the soldiers. But you know also we have X and Y factor too.
What is that?
X and Y factor is also slammed into our salaries.
What is that? What is X and
This
Y
was
factor?
an allowances been created for the soldiers. That's to say,
What is it about?
yes, in event there's crisis, usually we used to die a lot, or injuries will always overcome. So they said they will give you something in place of that, at least to cater for this incident. Whether we go to battle or we run into injuries, no. But the X and Y factor is there
This hazard allowance?
as an allowance. So at the end of the day, what I am taking home is almost close to double that of a police officer.
So you mean, therefore, that the salary of the soldiers was very good?
The salary was
By Gambian
no,
standards.
the salary is normal, but allowances.
Well, the take-home pay of the
Yes,
soldiers,
very
how did that compare to people in sister forces, like police?
We were far better. And as of today, we are even far better.
So the soldiers really did not have much to complain about salaries.
We will complain about other things. That's why I'm saying maybe we don't know the difference between privilege and right.
Okay. So as far as you're concerned, was the condition of the soldiers good?
No, there are other problems too. And I said, as a pioneer, we are the pioneers.
Yes. So
we need to suffer.
So tell us
like
about the
accommodation.
Yes, please.
We were lodged at Old Gambia College. By virtue of that place, the partitioning of those rooms were very, very small and bad. Was not going well. So the government was relying on paying house rent for soldiers outside. Very few were able to occupy. But then there was construction also going on. Constructing new settlements for married personnel of the armed forces. So the barrack construction was going on completely as we go along.
Was the accommodation adequate? Was it good?
Grossly inadequate.
So that was a problem.
That was a problem.
How about transportation?
Yes, we are coming to that one also. Government was paying a lot of money on transportation and residential allowances because practically a lot of soldiers were commuting. There's someone in Serekunda, Banjul, all over. A very few were in the barracks. I think in the barracks we have these long buildings, almost, was it 9 or so? That was already at that point in time. So practically everybody was commuting, going home and coming back every day.
But transportation was paid for by government.
Yes, by government.
So therefore transportation wasn't much of a problem, was it?
It wasn't much of a problem, but it's inadequate also. Because now and then you have these fares being increased. And to them they felt that once the fare increases, this should be increased, not knowing this affects the entire civil servant.
What we want to find out from you is by 1994, were the grievance complaints by the soldiers justified?
Well, at some level we may say that, well, it's not justifiable because on several occasions we've been briefed that the economy cannot sustain going beyond that level.
So in a sense you're saying that your colleagues who complained about bad conditions were just being unreasonable.
They could be reasonable, but all that they have to do is to bear with the situation.
No, the question is, were their claims reasonable under the circumstances?
Yes, it could be reasonable on the circumstances, because once it affects all of us.
Because their claims are reasonable, then it translates to the fact that the conditions were not just adequate or favorable.
Quite right.
You agree with that?
Yes, I do agree with that.
Okay, so there were problems, accommodation, transportation, feeding.
In the barracks, that's for those on essential duties.
In the barracks, yes.
For those on essential duties.
That's right.
Yes.
But how about the arrangement with regards to the command structure of the army?
For the beginning, we all look forward to Colonel Downjai to restructure the army, because we were very young at that moment, and then maybe whatever we may contribute to the command will be very little. And he was also being advised by the British Army training team. So we felt wherever he leads us, we follow. But we are now saying, we used to have sometimes, now and then he used to brief us on the structuring of the army. And he would always say, if there's any suggestions, come with it. Let's see how best we can tackle the problem.
What I'm driving at, Mr. Jatta, is sometime around 1993, or just a little earlier, it was deemed necessary to change the command structure in the army by bringing in Nigerians. How did that impact on the soldiers and officers of the Gambia National Army at the time?
Initially, we didn't like it, because we got to learn that the commander is going to be a Nigerian and other officers, senior officers as well. But when they came, we started also seeing changes. Thereby, there were almost 40-something plus. It was a large team, a big team, in fact. When they came, they immediately advised the government on two things: to establish 2 battalions. But prior to their coming, the army was pegged at 1,200 men. That was the ceiling. So when the Nigerians came, they advised on 2 battalions and a separate headquarters. And the battalions are going to be structured on 650 men per battalion. Companies will be 150 men. That's when they met on the ground. We are talking about foot soldiers now, not mechanical units like armored division, armored units like armored companies and so on. For armored companies, the strength is always 100 because they are always on these vehicles and so on. But for the foot soldier, 150.
The question is, were you happy about the command structure of the army? Were you happy with the arrangements on the command authority that was given to the Nigerians, to put it that way? That is the point I want you to address.
We were not happy. For the simple reason, we need to be told why the Nigerians were coming in and the purpose of them coming in. Thereby we may understand. But this MOU was shut down. No other officer had ever seen the MOU until 1994 after the takeover. But then also, do I go into the presence of the Nigerians? Do I go further? Okay. When they came, we saw some development. They really worked on the officer corps. In those days, we don't know what staff college. With Omar Faye, we were the first people to be sent to staff college by the Nigerians in Nigeria itself. And 2, there was a lot of development that they also make here. They were able to create 2 battalions and a separate headquarters, which was the headquarters, 1 battalion in Jundum, the other battalion in Farafenye, and the headquarters in Banjul. That's an all headquarters by All Atlantic. This other one was after 1994 by School of Public Health. They were also able to establish some administration, like terms and conditions of service for officers and men. That terms and conditions of service for officers and men talks about your promotion, when you travel, how much allowance you have to be given. All that is in the terms and conditions for officers, and how long you have to stay in a particular rank.
Essentially, the Nigerians organized the army. That's
Very well.
what you're telling us.
Very well.
And you are happy with this new arrangement?
Though we have our own problems, though we accept the arrangements.
No, what I want to drive at is, the Nigerians came. The initial idea was you would have a Nigerian army commander.
Leading the army.
That was the initial idea.
Yes.
And the Nigerians came with a team of over 40 personnel.
And over 40 people.
And they arrived and they occupied all important command positions within the Gambia National Army.
Yes, please.
So instead of having one person as commander of, one Nigerian as commander of the army, now you have about 40 Nigerians who occupied all the important positions in the army.
That's right.
How did you officers receive that situation?
We were not very happy with it.
You were either happy or unhappy.
Unhappy.
You were unhappy
Yes.
with that situation.
Yes.
Why?
Because we felt, you see, there's one thing here. In the MOU, we got to realize that in the event there is a crisis, it's only the commander who would stand to give instructions to Gambians, not others. So now, if that is the case, why bring some officers and fill those ranks in the event of crisis? Those people should then take charge also, advise the command. But now, when there's a crisis, those people will stand aside and we Gambians come in. When?
So essentially, you're trying to tell us that there was a vacuum
A big vacuum.
within the command structure
For sure.
in times of crisis.
Yes.
When was that discovered?
We know about it. We complain about it. Even Bunjak, he knows about it. He was our last permanent secretary, not so, before 1994. We also met the former Secretary General Sarah Jaha, Laikonte, and myself. We talked about it, but that did not go well with the Nigerians. But we said, look, we're going to have our own thing.
Well, at this stage, you and Laikonte and Omar Fai certainly were the most senior members of the Gambia Armed Forces. Correct?
That's Major Davis also.
And Major Davis, yes.
Okay.
And Wilson, maybe.
Wilson came down a little bit to captain.
Yes.
Because
But that
yes.
group was
Yes, the senior officer corps.
And
From the
that
Gambian-
group, they did not like the arrangement. That's what you're suggesting.
We don't like it.
How about the officers who were below your level? How did they receive this arrangement?
The same thing, because this is a touching situation. If we had occupied such a position, they also will move further.
Did it dent your pride that here you are in your own country, some foreign elements have been brought to command your army? Did it dent your pride?
It may be, but we have to take it in good faith, because this is a policy matter.
The question is, we want to know how you felt.
Oh, we
Did
don't
it
feel-
dent your pride?
Yes. That's to say, we are not capable of running that army. That's one thing. The purpose of
You
bringing
were hurt by
foreigners-
that.
Yes. That we are not capable, maybe we are too young too. So we thought that this
Was the phrase or the word immature used?
yes, immaturity, yes. So we are saying that was a policy, well, we have to take it because this is government.
How about the men? How did they view that situation?
Well, some of the men were able to interact with Nigerians, we may say so, but then at the end of the day, you see there's a little bit of cultural problem here and tradition. We are quite different, even though we are all Africans. Let me just get a little bit. You see, for the British Army training, British officers who are here, the only time you got to know that they are annoyed with you, see their eyes were always very red eyes. And they'll come closer to you to talk to you, that close. So you see us pulling back. on compared to Nigerians, once he's annoyed, he will shout on you at any level. He wouldn't care what happened to you or so, long as he's the boss.
So you had a problem with how the Nigerians treated you?
Yes. Because I could call an instance when Omar Faye had to tell Colonel Akoji, look, I don't give a damn. You won't embarrass me in the presence of my subordinates. No. So we said there's a cultural problem here.
Contributed to the problem.
Contributed to the problems.
How about the quality of training that the Nigerians offered?
They have never trained. We were just organizing officers training week. That is a little bit of geopolitics. Talk about the army, they will come and they will tell you how they also had to make their own arrangements in terms of admin and quartermaster, operations and so on. Some of this we learned in the staff college too.
Do you recall a training program that they held in Kudang?
Exercise Nyindokuo.
Yes.
That was as a sort of by can do.
I didn't get that. Could you repeat?
It's as a sort of by can do because it was like they have been pushed to do that. When we talked to Sarah Jaha about the state of the army, we went there to war for vehicles, of which the commander allowed us to use our influence on the politicians. So we met Sarah, facilitated by Captain Kasama. So on a Sunday, at the State House, at his office, we were three of us. So we talked about training also. He raised that issue. Sarah raised about the issue of training. And we made it categorically clear that sitting like that in the barracks doing nothing is not helping. We were used to running around during the time of the Batndaunjai. Every day we have programs, you know. But things seems to be at a standstill. And this is not good for us. They have to engage the soldiers every time. But sitting like that, all the papers, instructions will be running up and down, paperwork only. No. Then all of a sudden he wrote to them. We saw that letter. That was a very good letter he wrote. And he personally said he's going to sponsor an exercise to move us. And it happened. This was why we were in Kudang.
Was the exercise in Kudang well executed?
It was well executed. At least we were able to sweat. We were able to recall.
Was sweating the main objective?
No, at least
You did not need to go all the way to Kudang in order to sweat.
I mean, it's also good for long distance operations. It's good. That was good because we've never tried an exercise of that nature. All our exercises is within the Greater Banjul area here.
Was the change of location the only element in the success of that event?
Yes, please.
It meant, therefore, that it was useless.
I don't think it's the commander's decision. It could be useful too.
What we want to drive at, we want to know whether that training was a useless exercise or was it a very good exercise. We want to know whether the Nigerians were up to par in what they were tasked to do. We want to know whether they were giving you training that reached international standards.
For sure, an exercise of that nature was good because
the objective may have been.
Yes.
The question is whether the outcome was what was desired, whether it reached the expectations.
Yes, for people like us, for some of us, because we have to calculate how to move men and equipment long distance. It has that aspect, positive aspect. But on the negative aspect, it also carried negative aspect.
Tell us about them.
The negative aspect was that it was not the intention of the commander to run the exercise. He was forced to do it. So in the process, the aim will be there, but the objectives may not be there.
Understand? The aim may be there.
The purpose is we are going for an exercise. But what is it going to instill in the men? Would that exercise impact on the men?
are asked to describe that program using 3 adjectives,
Okay.
what would you say?
I would say it was successful, but with a lot of demerits. You see, we
Tell
we
us about the demerits.
the demerits. We went down there. We came with something very, very bad. We created a platform.
I
for
cannot
a coup.
understand,
I'm
Mr.
coming.
Jatta.
We created a platform for a coup. 2, the boys saw that, well, at the end of the day, instead of having we Gambians been given that task, we have Nigerians again telling us go left, go right, which we don't want.
Ed?
They handled everything and controlled the exercise. So we thought we can do it ourselves. And then whatever the case may be, they can come as umpires. Umpires, you know what? Those writing critics.
You said they laid down a platform for the coup. We will come back to that.
Good.
You said the Nigerians were telling you go left, go right,
Yeah, we have
and
been,
you did not like that.
we felt that they should just remain as umpires.
As
Assess
umpires.
us
In fact, you telling us that the concept
of operations.
of the operation was poor. It wasn't ideal for you.
Yes, at that moment in time.
So it wasn't a successful
We were
training.
not prepared. We would have been rehearsing in Yundum, running all our drills in preparation for the exercise.
That happened?
No, we were lifted straight to the exercise ground.
Was it a half-hearted
Assad.
exercise?
Yes, Afasad.
No. Was it done half-heartedly?
No, for them, that's what they can do.
Was it haphazardly done?
Haphazard, yes, we were rushed.
It wasn't properly organized.
To me, I thought that we were rushed. Because I was, even as a company commander, I was told to lead a platoon
When you should be leading a company,
when I should be leading a company.
you felt demoted.
Yes, and they gave me a position. I attacked the position, only to discover that on the grid reference, they were wrong.
Well, so it was poorly organized.
Yeah.
Important elements in that exercise were not correct.
Yes.
How was it successful? If
Successful
it
in the
had
sense,
all these
yes,
problems.
yes, successful in the sense that I said that our long distance operations, we have never been tested on that. In the event that something happens in Basse, the army has to move to Basse. What does it entail in terms of equipment? Not only equipment, because we have 3 categories here. We are talking about combatants. Like when we say a company.
In a sense, Mr. Jatta, we have to move quickly.
Okay.
In a sense, what you're telling us is that the only success of that whole exercise was the fact that you were able to move troops from point A to point B, which you've never done before.
We've never done that before, yes.
And that's the only success.
Well, that's what, yes, that's the only
And the
success.
process of moving from point A to point B was not quite successful by reason of the fact that there were lots of problems.
For that one, yes, there were a lot of problems to be covered. One, transportation was a problem. Our fleets were old. The men were going unprepared. Some of them have no water bottles. The real equipment for combat was not with us.
Mr. Jatta, let me inform you about the testimonies we received in this regard.
Okay.
Many of your colleagues testified to say that not only was the exercise poorly organized, but the Nigerians did not know what they were doing. What do you say to that?
Who are these people? Because those people are not in the training group. I've not seen anybody who was at the planning stage who testified here.
No, the issue is people who participated in the training exercise suggested that the Nigerians did not know what they were doing. that some of the Gambian officers who were present even had more knowledge from us compared to the Nigerians on how that operation should have been conducted. What do you say to that?
No. We have colonels from the Nigerian army preparing.
Speak up.
We were saying, those who testified here, I would say nobody was involved in the planning except myself.
But it's not the question.
I'm coming to that. I am coming to that.
Babukar, we have
Okay,
to
go
move.
ahead.
That's why at the beginning I said, you answer my questions.
Okay,
Don't
okay.
answer the question you want to answer.
All right.
The question is, we have received testimony suggesting that the Nigerians did not have a clue what they were doing. It was poorly done. The instructions given were wrong. The ideas they offered as to how to achieve the objectives were far-fetched. They were not clear. That it was a sham. What is your take on that?
Maybe that's their feeling. But we were, for those of us who are involved in the planning, we did a lot. We know the army laws.
Mr. Jatta, we're not talking about the planning.
What entails planning?
Just hear me out. We're not talking about your own contribution to that planning. We're not talking about what Gambian officers did in that planning. The question is, the information or the evidence before this commission is that what the Nigerians did or what the Nigerians tasked the participant in that training to do was a sham. It was poorly organized. They didn't know what they were saying. They didn't know what they were doing. It was all bad, a total failure. What is your take on that? Forget about your own role in the process. What is your take on the overall achievement of the objectives of that training?
We have achieved something. I am not taking their words. Because for one reason, if they had seen the schedules, there they can criticize and said, this did not go well. That should have been happening. It did not happen. But we all remain quiet like this. Our critics, during our critics, we know that maybe when we say something, you may affect a senior officer. They did not tell people that this happened. They come to the commission here and start taking. But you see, if it were at the military level, if we had told them to write what they have observed, then there you will see a lot of problems. Those people are too experienced for us.
You are now told
Yes.
to tell us what happened there.
Yes.
Whether it was a success or whether it was a failure. So you answer that and limit yourself to that.
Let me say that. I will say that that was a failure. Let's stop there.
Were the Nigerians competent for the roles they were assigned to perform?
During the exercise?
Yes.
Yes, because they were instructors telling us what to do.
No. The issue is not.
Yeah, they were, yes, some of them are very competent.
Okay, some of them.
Others are a mess.
Others are a mess.
Total mess, because you don't understand what they are saying.
Was that a problem during that exercise?
That was an adjustable problem.
I'm not saying whether it was adjustable or not. Was that a problem during that exercise?
Yes, please. That was a problem.
And Gambian men and officers recognized that problem during the exercise?
When we went down there.
So, did any of the officers or men protest at what they saw to have been going wrong?
Not at my level.
We have received evidence suggesting that at one point, junior officers, second lieutenants gathered together and expressed their dissatisfaction about what was happening in Kuala.
I was not aware of that. You know, we were not permanently on the ground. So those who were on the ground permanently are the officers and commanders from Yundum and Farafenye. I was in Farafenye, but then I was a 2IC, second in command. So, when the commander moves out to the exercise, sorry, I was staff to grade officer.
Yeah.
So, we prepare to them, and if there's any complaint, they send it to us. But then we decided to participate this time around for our own good. Now, we couldn't move men in such a way we can have a company.
Mr. Jata,
You will
let's
not
have a
understand me.
disciplined testimony.
Let's just go ahead.
Answer the question asked, and don't answer whatever, don't tell us whatever you think you should tell us. Just
All right,
answer the
all right.
question asked.
Go ahead.
The question is, the junior officers met together and expressed their dissatisfaction with what was happening. Were you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that for sure.
Were you aware that at Kudang, junior officers were so incensed with what was happening that there they decided that they would overthrow this government and remove these Nigerians from here, from the Gambia?
That could be a later stage, yes. It has happened there. We got to know about it later, after the coup. But we know they have also expressed dissatisfaction with the way the exercise was being conducted.
Why did you have difficulty telling us that the exercise was poor? It was an abysmal failure.
No, at some level, there's some little bit of success. We know it was very difficult for them too. It cannot be 100% failure. 100% failure means we will not be able to move even a platoon from Banjul.
But you were not asked whether it was 100% failure.
No.
The question was it a success or was it a failure? And my difficulty here is you seem to be not too committed to any particular answer. At one moment you said it was successful, and another moment it was a failure.
Yeah,
what we want to assess, Mr. Jata, is the veracity of the evidence we received, especially from the junior officers, and whether there is merit in the complaint that they made. Because we have to make, the Commission has to make recommendations for institutional reform.
Good.
The Commission needs to be able to assess whether the technical assistance we received from some countries, it's adequate, it's good, it's up to quality, and whether, this must be stopped permanent. These are issues that need to be considered. And that is why you're being asked your assessment of the training exercise. So we want an honest assessment from you as to how you saw that exercise. Was it successful
Council,
or was it a
this
failure?
is taking such a long time. The problem is here, all this you are talking are subalterns. Subalterns, they can't tell you what's going on. They are not even junior officers. These are people who have just been given pips. They cannot tell you an assessment of the army if you don't go to the top. Fatigue, when fatigue creeps into an exercise, you see all kinds
Mr.
of
Jata.
things. Where you are pushing me, I'm finding it very difficult to answer. You see, we have our faults, we have our, how do you call it, where we've also gains and losses. As a senior officer in every, they should have told you, for this reason, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or so, made the exercise a failure. But when you come and you tell me that the exercise has failed, that's to say that you're telling I myself to tell myself that what I did was wrong, what I've learned in the staff college was all wrong.
Mr. Jata, this
That was not the case. These are subalterns. Second lieutenants are subalterns. They are so blue. Their office is always under the tray.
Mr. Jata, because they are sub-lieutenants,
That's
just hear me out.
Okay, go ahead.
Because these are junior officers does not necessarily mean that they have no knowledge. You were once a junior officer.
For sure.
So because they are junior officers does not mean that they have no clue. Some of the points they raised, you have also raised yourself.
Okay.
The fact that they have raised it does not necessarily mean that it is wrong simply because of their level at the time. They did say that the Nigerians gave them instructions which were wrong under the circumstances.
Like what?
You yourself gave the example.
I mean, did they
Just hear me out, Babu.
Okay,
This
okay.
is not an argument. You are giving testimony. We have to exercise the discipline of listening to one another.
Okay.
Otherwise, it would be like a circus.
All right.
You yourself, you did admit that some of the points you were given were wrong.
So,
Isn't that a serious catastrophe for an army in an operation?
for sure.
Doesn't that display incompetence?
For sure.
Doesn't that display ineptitude?
So,
Doesn't that make an exercise a failure?
sure.
In your own assessment of what has happened in Kudang, would you honestly say it was a successful military operation?
Are you asking me that question?
Yes.
Well, sorry, Council, you are just confusing us. Look, military matters, when they go with critics, they go on the A, B, C, and said this other thing. Did they submit that to you?
Mr. Jatta, we listed points which you agreed.
Yes, for sure.
You agreed to ineptitude, you agreed to incompetence, you agreed to wrong instructions.
Okay.
The question is whether, if you assess everything, you, Babukar Jatta, having occupied pretty much the highest position in Gambia National Army, being one of the first to be trained, having been trained in very highly rated institutions, what is your personal assessment of what happened in Kudang? Would you say it was a success, or would you say it was a failure?
This is what I'm trying. Let us be very objective. You see, we will never end this.
Mr. Jatta, answer the question.
Okay.
Failure or success?
It was a success.
Thank you very much, and let
For a
us
simple
move on.
reason. Let me ask, why is it a success? You see, Fal, sorry, I'm calling you by your name. Sorry for that. Council.
It's all right. I can
You see,
give you that.
in the army, when you write critics, come out with points. I am telling you, transportation was a problem. We did not make that much on transportation. We come to the feeding, was a problem. Lifting of equipment was a problem. The exercise was too far. That was a problem. We went on the ground. That's how we criticize us. But you just come and say failure. We don't take it. You do it anywhere that they will deal with you. They'll tell you to crawl. And this is it. I know initially that's why I wanted to tell you our categories of ranks and so on. These subalterns, all those who have been listening here are subalterns. They are not even junior officers.
Are you running away from
I'm
the
not
fact?
running away from
You running away
responsibility.
from the fact?
I was expecting them to come with, they said, okay, for this subject matter, this is it. For this subject matter, this is the problem.
Okay, let's do it that way.
Yes.
Arrangements for transportation, was it a success or what is the failure?
It was not successful.
So it was a failure.
But we have reached Kudang, by all means.
It was a failure.
It was a failure, but we reached Kudang.
Not at the appointed time.
Not as appropriate as it should be. Yes, yes. Delayance.
So if that were to be a real military operation, you would have been woefully late.
Late.
And that too would rate as a failure.
As a failure.
You were given wrong points
To attack.
to attack. That too was a failure.
Yes, for sure.
The feeding was a failure.
The feeding was a failure.
The lifting of the equipment was a failure.
Yes.
The instructions you were given were also a failure. What succeeded?
What succeeded? We were able to run our own camp. We conduct battle drills. Let me tell you one thing.
But was it that
You are
was-
dealing with
Hear
very
me out.
experienced, very
Mr. Jata,
experienced. No, I
hear
don't
me out.
understand. Listen to me. You don't
Mr.
know about the
Jata,
military. You don't
Mr.
know about the
Jata,
military.
Mr. Jatta, you have to answer questions.
You see,
Mr.
if we were
Jata.
Nigerian lawyers, they would have gone to the university to
Mr.
learn
Jata.
about the military.
Mr. Jatta,
Yes, go ahead.
this is a commission of inquiry.
For sure.
You have to respect the commission and answer questions asked.
Yes.
You cannot just be going off on a tangent and just saying anything.
Don't superimpose a question with you.
Let's exercise some decorum and some discipline in this process. This is too serious. This is not to criticize you.
No.
The issue is we want to know whether that event succeeded, and you can easily answer the question. From all the indicators that we have talked about, It was an abysmal failure. Do you agree?
I do.
Thank you. It need not have taken 10 minutes for you to agree. You could have simply said yes. Thank you very much.
All right.
You said that the exercise in Kudang created a platform for coup d'etat. Can you explain that, please?
We discovered that after the exercise,
Yes, but tell us
we
what you
discovered that there
discovered.
was some arrangement we made. Officers were talking to one another about overthrowing the government. The matter was investigated in this country with the NSS, with very senior officers from the army itself, Nigerian officers, going to the NSS then to investigate the matters about what happened at Kudang. We knew about it. We, the senior officers, were disregarded because there were instances when one guy called a couple more Faljamme was being brought to the headquarters and going to NSS with Colonel Akoji. But they would not like we, the senior officers, to know. So, being the case, the king went too far. We were all watching them, let them do the running around until it boomerang.
And when did it boomerang?
July 22nd.
Mr. Chair, that is the topic we are going to next. So I suggest that we take the morning break, and when we return, we will deal with July 22nd, July 21st, and July 22nd.
Good.
Thank you. And I expect a more disciplined testimony during the next session. Thank you.
You see?
Thank you very much indeed, Council. And I didn't want to intervene, but at one point I picked up my gavel. I was going to say order in this court or in this commission, the exchange between you and the witness. I do hope when you come back, we would observe that kind of discipline. We have a 30-minute break. Come back at 12 noon. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you very much.
This is quite...